Hello friends, I want to talk to you today about preparing St. John's wort flowers for oil. And I like to just use the flowering tops. And around here St. John's wort pops up in abundant amounts. And it's noticeable by the very distinct yellow flower. And it's perforatum, because when you look at the leaves in the light, you can actually see the glands. Kind of like perforations in a piece of paper where you tear it. It's very visible. So this plant is abundant in New England around mid to late July. And although photosensitivity has been suggested for the leaves, the flowers actually have a protective effect on the skin. So I actually use this oil as a sunscreen. So it's a fantastic way to heal bruises, to encourage your body to recover more quickly when there's an injury. And it just smells and looks amazing as well. And you can save yourself quite a bit of money making it versus buying it in the store. As for growth habitat, St. John's wort tends to appear in open fields, much like this one here. And once you find a small patch of it, you're likely to find a larger amount. As you're picking it, you'll see that your hand gets covered in these little purple reddish splotches. And this is from the flower and glandular secretions of the ends of the pistils and stamens. It has this sort of reddish oil, and this is what we're after when we're putting it in olive oil to extract. We're looking for this hypericin and hyperimicin that's present especially in the tops. And again, we're not wasting the bottoms. We're going to be using this for a tincture. The tops are pretty much the easiest thing to harvest as well, because you can just take scissors and snip them off. Leave a little bit of the plant as well. I literally took off, no larger than a hand-sized portion of each plant. It's going to continue to flower, so you might be able to go back to the same stand, and it's still going to produce you seeds next year. So what we're interested in with the St. John's wort are these flowering tops. I usually will strip them with my hands just so I don't get too much of the stem in them. But you really could just clip off the entire top portion and it would probably be fine. It's not exactly an exact science with these, but I'm trying to avoid getting the leaves. And that's just because of the suggested photosensitivity. I've never experienced that with the leaves or the flowers, but I do it just to be mindful because I'm preparing this for other people as well. So most of the constituents are actually in the flowers anyways that we're looking for topical use at least. And I will usually tincture the bottom half of this, so I'm not wasting all of these greens. These will be made into a sort of like a winter blues tincture. But that can cause photosensitivity. But in the winter, not a problem. But what we're really interested in is this flowering top. I'm going to fill up probably this entire container, and then I'm going to be covering it in oil in a couple minutes. Alright, so we've made it to the point where we have a good amount of the flowering tops. A little bit of the stalk, but I'm trying to remove that. Again, the Hypericum and the hyperimicin in these is what we're after, and these flowering tops are going to give us the least photosensitive constituents that we want. The simplest way to do this, and there's more precise ways and there's also simple ways. My hands are purple, by the way, from these and also from the mulberries. The simplest way to do this is to put it into a glass container. And so I'm literally just going to stuff these into a glass container, almost up to the top. This should be just the right amount. Perfect. Good. And we're going to use this as our base. I'm going to take these and I'm going to fill this with olive oil all the way up to the top. And I want the olive oil to go above the top of this plant material. If you put it too low and some of it's exposed, it can start to mold and it can go bad. So you want to make sure that this material is completely covered when you're doing this. Some people actually put stones or weights to hold it down. I haven't really had much of a problem, especially with this because of its antibacterial contents, but it is a good idea to do that. And I recommend using an organic oil if possible. I usually use olive oil, but you could use coconut oil, you could use sunflower oil. I've tried it with a bunch of different types of oil, but we're just adding this all the way. Up to the top. The end result of this will be this beautiful, beautiful red oil. And this oil is good for burns, cuts, bruises, abrasions, pretty much everything you could think of that's an external wound. It's really good for vascular issues. I personally have used it for veins on my leg that were kind of puffy or I didn't like their appearance. And it also helps to bring blood flow to an area. So if you put this on your foot, it can help to kind of reduce scarring and injury. And like I said, it's amazing for bruising and for sunburns. I've used this oil for the last 15 years as a sunscreen. I don't really burn in general. I'm kind of a tan person, but this is super useful if I know I'm going to be in direct, bright sunlight all day. I'll often just put a layer of this on me. Once this is ready, we can further refine it, either into a salve or into just oil itself. And we're going to strain it out as well. But I'm going to show you what it looks like after a couple months of sitting around. The power of making this yourself is that you're literally getting a product that costs, $40 a bottle at a health food store. And it's in its raw form, so you can refine this as much as you want, make it into different products like I mentioned, or just use it as it is. But anytime you can engage with wild medicinal plants or wild edible plants, it brings you closer to sort of the natural world around you. So there's debate about the amount of time to leave oils and tinctures in. I usually go for 6 to 8 weeks, and this is going to give you a very golden red color. And this oil has been sitting for a bit, and this is unstrained. So the next step after this would be to strain this out, give it a light squeeze because we're using moist material, so we don't want to squeeze the moisture out of it, we just want the oil. And the end result of that is going to look like this beautiful, beautiful red color. And again, this oil is superb for any skin conditions, and I use it personally all the time, so I try to make as much as I can in the spring. Another thing to be aware of as well, as it's sitting there, give it a shake every once in a while, because you want to really mix up this plant material so that everything is touching that oil and as much extracts into it as possible. And we're actually going to take this and I'm going to strain it so I can show you the final product. So our next step with this is to add the material to a cloth of some sort. It could be cheesecloth, double layer cheesecloth, could be an old sanitized shirt. You want to make sure you sanitize the bowl underneath it as well. And I'm going to take this material and squeeze it, and I've already given a little bit of squeeze, but you want this material to strain out the bulk of it, but you don't want to squeeze too hard so that all of the water from the wet plant material comes into your oil. So I'm giving it a light squeeze until we get most of the oil. And you'll see if you're squeezing too hard, you'll see that the oil is having a little bit of water runniness. I can try to show you that too, but it'll appear as little bubbles like that. So we don't want to squeeze this too much harder than we are right now. Here's the beautiful end results. This deep, deep red colored oil. If you're interested in one-on-one classes, group foraging classes, and group herbalism classes, feel free to be in touch. I'm going to be offering some this summer. And if you just want to talk about plants and herbs, I'm happy to talk. Stay well, friends, and I'll talk to you soon. Again, the beauty of making this oil is you've created something that is absolutely amazing medicinally from plants that are just around you in 6 to 8 weeks. Again, there's debate over how long you should leave it in there. I think 6 to 8 weeks is good. Sometimes a couple months can be better depending on the material, but anything that's moist and pretty absorbent is going to pick up the oil very, very quickly. Thank you guys for watching. Hope this was informative, and I look forward to sharing more herbalism with you in the near future. Stay well, friends.